Welcome to this free workshop, How to Create Art That Sells. It is going to be really, really good. I think it's going to be very important information for you that will really get your career going. And I think after this, the artwork that you create, you're going to be able to sell it a lot easier. I think you're going to be filled with all kinds of new ideas and inspiration on new artwork you can create. I think you're not going to have a question about color anymore after this, and you'll really be able to have a color story in each and every piece, and you'll know that the colors you choose are going to be sellable colors. So I'm really excited to share the information that I have for you. So just a little background about me in case you don't know, much about me. And then we'll get started. This is my husband, John. So I married an artist, which is not what my dad wanted. He wanted me to marry a doctor or a lawyer or maybe an engineer, but not an artist. So I think I made a great choice, though. He's a fantastic artist, a wonderful dad, and just a great human being. His name's John. And we went to art school together, and we went to Savannah College of Art and Design, and then we transferred to the University of Georgia. So this is John's artwork that he used to make years and years ago in college. And he used to do all kinds of murals and nightclubs, and he would draw on the back of people's motorcycle jackets, and he would draw on people's cars that went into car shows. So he did all kinds of crazy, wild things. This is his artwork today. These are oil paintings, and he is, doing this series all about, DJs. So this was my artwork in college, and this is the artwork that I'm making today. So this painting here, I just finished Friday. So this is still drying on my easel, and even though I do these workshops and I help artists from all over the world step into their destiny and pursue their passion as a full-time artist and build a whole career. And I mentor artists. I also paint still every day. I paint and sell my artwork. So this is the artwork that we started doing right after college. What our professors told us in college is that we needed to make art for art's sake. There was no way we would be able to make a career selling our art. They had no pointers for us, no tips at all on how to build a profession as an artist. And I didn't like hearing that, and I didn't really believe it was true. And what happened is I had an art show in a restaurant here, and a lady saw my artwork and offered me a job working in Atlanta, creating artwork for the decorative market. And I didn't even know the decorative market existed. And what the decorative market is basically paintings that go in businesses, hospitality, restaurants, healthcare centers, and for the home. And the clientele is either the person, for their home, or an interior designer, art advisors, art consultants, that type of thing. So, and there's even dealers that work specifically in this market and sell the artwork to all these different outlets. And I didn't know any of this existed. So I got involved in that, and I started working in Atlanta in an art studio, and I was paid a salary to paint. And this is the kind of artwork I was making. My husband also started doing that at a different company. And so we did that for many years. And after about 1 year with the company, we left and we went out on our own, and we just worked basically freelance in this industry, in this decor market. We were able to raise 4 children off of the sale of our artwork. So our art professors were completely wrong, and we built a really great career and sold artwork all over the place and raised our 4 kids. And our 4 kids are grown today, and all 4 of them are artists and sell their artwork professionally. We got involved in publishing and licensing. So that's when you license an image for, it could be poster prints or lithographs. It could be for a product of some sort, and they put your artwork on a product, and then you make royalties. So we did that for a while. And then we started making abstracts and collaborating. So my husband and I would both paint on the same pieces together, and we made abstracts like this, and they started going in galleries all over, and we were working with dealers and got into the collectible market. So that's more the market you're probably familiar with, where artwork's in a gallery, art collector goes into the gallery, falls in love with the piece and buys it. So we sort of transitioned out of the decor market and into the collectible market. So over the course of our careers, we have sold over 10,000 paintings. And we were just really, really painting very prolifically, collaborating, and we would paint as much as 80 to 100 paintings every single month. And we were sending them all over the world through dealers and distributors, and they were selling faster than we could really create it. And what happened in that is we really, really learned a lot about what kind of artwork sells. We learned some very interesting tricks. Working with different publishers in the publishing industry, we learned a lot about what things to do and what not to do to make artwork sell. For example, the publishers would come in and look at a painting we did of a landscape and say, "Oh, yeah, that won't work. We can't publish that because it's a path that leads to nowhere." And so we started picking up, oh, I guess we can't paint a path that leads to nowhere. A path has to lead somewhere. Other things that they would tell us is, oh, yeah, this one won't work because there's nothing on the table. It doesn't look like human beings live here. And so I was thinking, wow, we need to put stuff on the table like dishes and vases of flowers, or, lean a jacket over the chair, put a hat on the table, something that shows, evidence that human beings live there. So it was really great education for us, painting this much artwork and selling this much artwork. And that is information that I'm going to pass off to you today that will help you in your career and for your art sales. So we had a lot of artists along the way that would ask us for help and wanted to know how we were doing it. How were we making a living selling our art? And we wanted to help them, but I didn't have a platform or a way to really consolidate my knowledge and be able to help them. So we decided in 2010 to open Milan Art Institute. And this is I called it the little tin shed in the middle of a cotton field, because that's kind of what it was. It was this metal building that we transformed into an art school, into this big art studio. It was about 2,000 square feet, and we would have about 20 artists in there at one time. And we would teach them how to draw, how to paint, how to build a portfolio. We taught them, we would do these portfolio boot camps that were like this intense 8 weeks where they would do all these paintings, like 4 paintings a week. We taught them how to do production, and we gave them tips and help in their career. So then in 2014, I launched the mastery program. So that is a 1-year course that teaches you everything you need to know and how to have an art career. And we launched that in 2014, and it's really, really successful. And we've seen tons of artists go through it and come out the other side as professional artists able to sell their artwork. In 2018, because it was so successful teaching it on site and having people, they started coming even as far as Australia to Queen Creek, Arizona, where we were, to learn from us. So we thought we've got to get this online because there's so many artists all over the world that need this information. And so that's why we launched it online, and we did that in 2018. Okay, so that's just a little background about maybe what qualifies me to tell you the information that I'm going to tell you today. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is color, because color is the number one reason why a painting will sell. Color really affects our mood. It affects our emotions. Color is actually a frequency, and that's why fast food restaurants usually will paint, have oranges and reds and yellows, because it makes you hungry. If you have an orange kitchen, you might want to change the color because it'll make you hungrier and eat more. So Color does a lot. And interior designers, when they're buying artwork, and other art consultants and art advisors, they're really looking at color. Color is the number one thing they're looking at. So in order for a painting to sell, the color needs to be rich. It needs to transition, and sort of change throughout the painting, and not just be out of the tube or one color. And then there needs to be a color story. So I'm going to show you some slides that illustrate that. So here for rich color, the painting on the left here that says rich color, that would be an example of that. Whereas the other painting, everything just kind of seems anemic. It seems muddy. It seems dingy. It seems like there's a filter over it, and it's not as inviting. That type of color tends to sell less. How you end up with anemic color is if you neutralize your color by mixing warms and cools together in oil or in acrylic. If you just mix too many colors together and it gets kind of muddy, if your water or your solvent is dirty and you're kind of mixing muck into your paint, then that's something that can cause that. Here is some neutral colors that are rich, and then neutral colors that are not rich. So the non-rich neutral colors is kind of mixing black and white together, and it's not very, not as pleasing as the one on the left. Now this is color that is transitioning. If you look here at the magentas and the greens, there's all kinds of different greens. It goes from teal green to, sort of a true green or Kelly green, and then all the way to a yellow green. So that's what we would call transitioning color, that in the color wheel, it goes from yellow to blue through the whole gamut of green. Same thing with magenta. It goes from kind of an orangey pink all the way to a violet pink. And if you look at the painting on the right, everything is the same. It's the same white, it's the same blue, it's the same purple. Everything's the same. It's like this painting was made with 3 colors. Now, I think paintings that sell well are going to have a color story. So I'm going to illustrate all kinds of different ways to have a color story. But basically, a color story is when you are sort of predetermining that what your colors are going to be, and it could be a triad of colors. It could be based on complements. It could be based on a dominant color. It could be based on neutrals with a splash of color. There's something intentional about your color story. You're not just throwing your favorite colors on a canvas willy-nilly and just hoping that it all makes sense, or just kind of feeling your way through something, hoping your colors work out. That is not having a color story. A color story is when you've decided ahead of time, you're building your palette. You've predetermined a palette, and that palette makes sense according to some, color theory rules. So let's go through those. This would be a complementary color story. So an orange and blue painting. You want those to be unequal, like the one on the left. That makes it pleasing. So it's a complementary palette of orange and blue, but it's disproportionate. The one on the right has this conflicting feeling. It makes you feel a little bit agitated because those colors are conflicting, and because they're equal. So you want to avoid that, and you want your complementary color palette to be unequal in proportion. Here's another example of that, equal versus unequal. And you can see from these examples why one is more successful or more sellable than the other. Now, this is a full spectrum with neutrals. So you can have, when we say full spectrum, we basically mean a rainbow. You can make a rainbow painting. Rainbow painting is really a cool idea. But there needs to be enough neutrals mixed in there that it makes it look pleasing. Both of these have, the one on the right has kind of this creamy white as the neutral, and the other one on the left has a lot of grays to it. And those grays really make the rainbow work. Whereas in these paintings, there's very little neutrals, and so the rainbow palette is very just too much. It's just too much. It's like you're living with a tie-dye t-shirt, rainbow t-shirt on your wall, and it comes across as not tasteful. So you want to avoid that. If you're going to use a rainbow palette, use a lot of neutrals. A primary palette would be, like a triad palette. So that's where you're using yellow, red, blue. And if you just use only yellow, red, blue in equal proportion, it's not going to work out. It's going to look really I don't know, like amateurish. Whereas the one on the left here, there's enough neutrals mixed in there that it looks much more sophisticated. So a primary palette is a good idea, but you need to mix neutrals in with it. So this is an all neutral palette, and the one on the left has transitioning colors. So what that means is it's not the same gray everywhere. It's not the same brown everywhere. It's not the same white. It transitions throughout. Whereas the one on the right, it's like the same gray, the same white, the same brown, and it doesn't change as it's moving throughout the painting. This is a dominant color story, where you choose one dominant color. So the one on the left, the dominant color is, that violet, and it's very definite. We know that's the dominant color, that magenta. Whereas the one on the right, it's like, is it green? Is it yellow? I'm not so sure. Maybe it's orange. There's kind of a mixture in there. And even though it's probably green, it's not as definite. So it feels like the color isn't as successful or sellable. The reason a dominant color is more sellable is you can put that in a room where you want to highlight magenta. And it'll begin to pick up that color all around the room. And that's a trick that designers use to coordinate a room and make a room really work well. Also, the homeowner is, imagine the wife is like, oh, yeah, I have magenta all throughout my house. So when she sees a magenta painting that has a dominant color of magenta, she's like, that would work perfect in my house. I know exactly where to put that. So it'll sell. Whereas this one that's maybe green, maybe yellow, she's trying to figure out where she's going to put that in her house, and is it going to pick up the other colors in the room, and it's harder. You also want to ask yourself, is it tasteful? Is this beautiful? So this is a very similar color palette, but one is the tasteful version and the other one is less tasteful. What makes it less tasteful is really the sort of out of tube colors, the intensity of the colors, that the mixture that yellow sun is having on the water and turning it green. It's just kind of too candy. It's too intense. Whereas the color on the left is much more tasteful, but it's rich color instead of bright color. So that's a tricky thing to know if your color is tasteful. And I think a good way to know, and if you want to elevate your taste, is sort of feast your eyes on tasteful things. Look at interiors, look at color and how it's being used in really high-end furnishings, really high-end fashion, really high-end, rooms, and see what colors are they using, and then look at your own painting and try to imagine your painting in that room. Does it fit? Are those colors the same? So taste can always, we can always elevate our taste. I need to elevate my taste. You probably need to elevate your taste. So we can elevate our taste by just looking at things that are high end. So this is another example of tasteful versus not tasteful, although it's the same color palette. And so you can kind of see the difference and draw your own conclusions from that. Okay, so let's move on to the second most important attribute that makes a painting sell. So first is color, and the next is theme. So what do we want in your theme? You want themes that are open-ended and not too specific. And I'm going to show you some examples of open-ended versus too specific. And you also want it to be beautiful, inspiring, hopeful, wondrous, interesting, something upbeat, something in the positive range. Artwork that is dreary, depressing, oppressive, violent, gory, wicked, dark, typically does not sell. And people want to live with something in the room that uplifts them. So hope sells. And then the third thing that you want your theme is to be unique and not too derivative. Not like, oh, it's another red barn, right? We want things to be unique and different and new and fresh, which means you get to be creative, which means you get to really express your voice, your unique voice, and not just copy the things that are out there that you see selling. If it's too derivative, it's not going to sell. You want people to say, wow, I've never seen that before. That's so interesting. I think I want to buy that. Here is an example of open-ended versus not open-ended. So the one with the horse is very dreamy, and you can make your own story with this in a very open-ended way. You get the feeling like it could be about a lot of different things, whereas the one on the right really feels like it's too specific. It's a riddle that we have to solve, and we're trying to figure out, why is one girl naked but she has socks on, another one has a spray paint can, and then we have this deer with ornaments in his antlers. You know, the artist is trying to tell us something, but we're just not smart enough to figure it out. And then I'm not going to buy it because I don't want to be reminded every day that I'm not smart, right? So we don't want riddles we can't solve that only the smart artist knows. That's a very hard thing to sell. The other thing you don't want to do with a sort of not open-ended enough theme is to beat people over the head with your message. You want to suggest your message and allow your audience to fill in the blanks. You don't want to make it so easy for them they have no reward in filling in the blanks. You want to reward them with them being able to make their own story. So this is basically the same thing as the last slide. A suggestion of an image versus I'm going to illustrate it for you. You want to stay away from things that are too illustrated. The other open-ended thing, if you're doing portraits or you're doing figures, you want it to look like it could be anyone. It could be somebody's daughter, it could be somebody's granddaughter, it could be the wife, it could be anybody. You can relate to it. That could be me. You don't want it to be so specific. It looks like only one person in whole planet Earth, and it's like, wow, that looks just like my second grade teacher. Because it's like nobody wants to live with a stranger on their wall. They want to live with something that is suggestive of a certain somebody, and they can kind of put themselves in that place. So this is not open-ended sort of landscape or place versus too specific. If it's too specific, then only people from that area are going to want to buy it. The other thing, you want to paint the other side of your pain. You don't want to, paint things that are sort of a reaction to, we've all had pain, right? We've all, live with things that we don't like. We see things in the world we don't like. We see, wars and oppression and things that we don't like. But if we paint those things, it's like you're glorifying it or you're giving it voice. We want to paint the other side of those things. We want to paint the solution, not the problem. We want to paint the victory, not what is lost. So it's really, really important, and it's more important than just selling your art. This is, in my opinion, where the art world is headed, because it's a buyer's market, and it's what people are buying is what is going to inform and help artists tweak and know what it is they want to paint. And we're not saying that you need to paint something that's completely outside of what it is you want to paint, but find a way to say what it is you want to say in a positive way, in an uplifting way. You can paint about your pain as long as it's the solution to it or the overcoming of it. And that is what is going to inspire people. And really, that's what's going to change the world. That's why I always say art will change the world. We've seen art has changed the world. And it's painting the other side of our pain that really does it. There's a lot of evidence for that. So that could be like a whole workshop. These are some examples of what I'm talking about. You just don't want this heavy feeling or this feeling of depression or poverty or lack or pain, anything dreary, none of that. You want it to be uplifting, wondrous, beautiful. So here's some more examples. I'm kind of choosing extreme examples, but obviously you wouldn't want a painting of, an atomic bomb going off, on your wall, right? That's not something fun to live with. And it can be really subtle. Like both of these paintings are really beautifully done. The painting where the woman looks like she's hiding in shame is done with excellence. It's a beautifully painted piece. But it's depressing to look at. I don't want to be that woman. I want to be the other woman that's looking out into her future in a hopeful way. But I don't want to be the other woman. So it's really, really important. These subtle things are very important. Now, not everything has to be, rose-colored glasses and peachy perfect. You can be edgy. You can be different. You can be, on, just the right side of creepy. But one side of it is wonder and interesting, and it's inspiring because it's interesting. It's inspiring because it's wondrous. Or if you're too far there, then it becomes creepy. So the painting on the right that's creepy is not sellable. It's not something people want to look at. But the painting on the left, it is inspiring and it is something people would want on their wall. You have to be careful too about something being too confrontational. Sometimes when the subject is looking right at you in this sort of confronting way, especially with these glaring eyes, it's a little off-putting. It doesn't mean it'll never sell, but it's harder to sell. It's harder to sell a portrait that's looking right at you, unless it's done in a very special way. But a portrait that's sort of looking off and is non-confronting is easier to sell. You want to have a unique point of view. So uniqueness is really important. Believe it or not, the still life on the left is more sellable than the still life on the right, because there's so much of that painting on the right. We've seen that everywhere. It's all over the place. Whereas the painting on the left is much more unique. There's sort of distorted that's good. You can have, things don't have to be realistic to sell. In fact, things that are more abstract, I think sell a little bit better than something that's hyper realistic. But there's a distorted that's kind of good and intentional, and wow, they did that on purpose. And then there's a distorted where you wonder, what they were thinking. And in this particular case, it looks like he got shot in the head and there's blood pouring out of his ear. So that's sort of a bad distorted. So again, this sort of illustrates a unique, subject matter that's been done a bunch of times versus not unique. And again, stylization, the painting on the left that's interesting, it's not realistic. It's totally abstract, but it's very intentional. Like we know that they did this intentionally, and it's not that they, just need to take more painting lessons, right? Whereas the one on the right, it's distorted in a bad way. They didn't get the proportions right. The foreshortening is off. And even if they got it right, I don't know that it would be that great of a painting anyway, but it's stylized in a bad way. Again, the one on the left is stylized in a beautiful way. It works, whereas the one on the right kind of feels, I think it's mostly because of the color story, doesn't work, but it doesn't, and the lines are kind of like all the same. But that kind of stylization, it doesn't lend itself to beauty or something that we want to look at too long. Here's another example of stylized with skill versus stylized without skill. So if you do stylize something, you want it to be obvious that you did it on purpose and you did it with skill and excellence. Okay, so the third and final reason why a piece of art will sell versus not sell is excellence. So do you have to be the most amazing painter on planet Earth and have it perfect paintings? Absolutely not. But you can't just throw paint on a painting and finger paint and I don't know, and not have some degree of excellence to it. or skill and expect to sell it. There has to be some level of skill. When I was first getting started selling my artwork, I started selling right after I graduated from college because, like I told you, I worked for that company for a year, and then I went out on my own, and I was always selling my artwork. But when I look back at that artwork, when I look back at what I was painting, I'm like horrified. I think they're terrible. I think those paintings are not very good at all. I'm, like looking at them thinking, man, Ellie, you barely knew how to paint. So my skills have gotten a lot better over the years, and yours will too, wherever you're at in your journey. My skills from here on out are going to improve. The longer we paint, the better our skills get, and the more excellence that we put into our artwork. The more excellence we put into our artwork, the more it sells and the higher prices we get for it. So you don't have to, start at the top selling your artwork. You can start at a lower threshold of excellence, but just know every year that you paint, your skills are going to improve. And there has to be some degree of skill in order for your artwork to sell. So I'm going to kind of show you, where that's at. So if we look at the painting on the right, and I think a big degree of excellence is time put into it, intentionality, and really passion. The painting on the right doesn't feel like the artist that painted that had a lot of passion. They were like, I'm going to paint a daisy and a blue sky. There's very little creativity to it. It's not like it's so terrible. It looks like a daisy, but it's really boring. There's no excellence to it. There's nothing there. It seems passionless. It doesn't seem like the artist cared a whole lot. Whereas the one on the left, even though it's very stylized, it's super strange for a flower. Sire, where did that come from? But it's done with excellence. The line quality is really interesting. There's this intentionality to it. There's a design to it. There's thought put into it. And so it comes across as excellence and skill. Again, the abstract on the left, a lot of time and care was put into that. There's lots of layers. You can tell there's passion to this. Whereas the one on the right just looks like it was sort of slapped down very quick. There wasn't a lot of thought put into it. And it's not, it looks like a beginning. It doesn't look like a finished piece. So the painting on the left was done with excellence, a high level of skill. The one on the right, a lot less skill. And, the composition is not so great with the one on the right. There's 4 bottles. There should usually be, 3 or 5. There should be overlap. You shouldn't have all those tangent edges. So the level of excellence is really lacking there. You can see the difference here between an abstracted portrait that's done with skill and excellence and one that was done with less skill. And so the one on the left, of course, is much more sellable than the one on the right. Here's a very similar kind of idea with flowers. The one on the left is more sellable. It's done with excellence. It has thought put into the composition and how it was arranged and the scale of things. Where the one on the right, the colors are kind of interesting and sellable, but it's sort of smack dab in the middle. It's too small. The vase shape is kind of weird. So it wasn't done with enough excellence. Here's another example of, a painting of a wolf that's done with skill and excellence versus one, they need to keep learning. They need to keep practicing. Now, really important here, this is really important. I believe with all my heart, anybody can be a professional artist. It doesn't matter where your skills are at because you can learn. And I know that because I'm one of those people. I had very little skill, no skill. I was not talented. I wasn't one of those kids that, was painting and doing, recognized by their teachers as, good in art class or anything like that. Nobody from my high school or, growing up in elementary school or anything would go, oh yeah, Ellie became an artist. That makes a lot of sense. I was good at math. I was good at history. And I wasn't your typical, let's say artist. And I learned everything that I know. I learned by taking art classes, by studying it out and practicing lots and lots of time behind the paintbrush, learning to draw, learning the mechanics. And I learned. So even if your skills are not at that point where you're watching this and you're going, oh, yeah, I don't have enough skill. I can't do it. You can learn. You can learn, and you can learn very quickly. And so don't let that discourage you. Do not ever let your lack of skill discourage you from becoming a professional artist. All you need to think about to be a professional artist is passion. Remember the daisy. Are you the flower on the left, or are you the flower on the right? If you can put passion and heart into your paintings, then you can learn everything else, and you can learn it quickly. You can learn it in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months at the most. So quickly you can learn all that you need to learn to have a full-fledged, full-time professional career as an artist. And don't let anybody tell you different. Don't listen to anybody that says you're not good enough, you can't do it, nobody's going to buy your art, you're not talented, oh, you got to be lucky. Don't listen to that. None of that is true. It takes hard work, it takes commitment, and it takes passion. And you can learn all the skills where you, in a very short period of time, can paint like the wolf on the left here, even if you're starting out with stick figures, right? People tell me all the time, oh, I can only draw stick figures. Well, you can learn. Now, for excellence and for your paintings to sell, you really do need to use high quality materials. Do they have to be the highest quality materials? Do you have to buy $50 tubes of paint? No, but don't buy the cheap stuff they're selling at Ross or the bargain bin. You want to buy a decent, good quality paint. Anything that's professional grade, even if it's the lower end of professional grade, is totally adequate. As soon as you buy student grade art supplies, then a lot of the times they're not good enough quality. The only exception I can think of for that is Gamblin's 1980 oils. They are, I think, a high quality student grade, sometimes better than even some professional grade in other brands. So I would shoot for the best art materials that your budget can buy. And it's better to have, 10 tubes of high quality paint than 20 tubes of low quality paint. Because with high quality paint, you can mix all kinds of colors on your own. So really go for good quality paint. Good quality brushes. Oh my gosh, I learned that the hard way. So if you use, because I would ruin my brushes and I would ruin them pretty quickly. So I didn't want to spend $20 on a brush. I didn't want to spend $30 on a brush because I knew I was going to ruin it. Well, first of all, learn how not to ruin your brushes. Also, with Murphy's oil soap, you can fix your brushes if you did ruin them. And then buy good brushes because it will make a huge difference in the quality of your artwork and your brush strokes. Almost everybody I've talked to that buys good brushes after they've been buying bad brushes, they're like, oh my gosh, now I know why I was painting so badly. It was my brushes. It really makes a huge difference. Okay, so good craftsmanship. You don't want paint boogers in your paint. We worked with this gallery for many, many years in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the guy, as soon as we would bring in a painting, he would look at it sideways in the light, and he would look down the painting sideways to see if there was paint boogers. And if he saw a hair, dog hair, paintbrush hair, or paint boogers, he would, be all upset about it, and he wouldn't let us, put that piece of artwork in his gallery. So we learned really, really quickly to really watch it as we go. And if I see a hair from my brush in there, I would get it out before it dried. If I saw one later, I would pick it out and then paint over it. There's a lot of things you can do to avoid that. So be aware of that as you're painting. And paint boogers can be avoided by just painting very often. If you paint every day, you're not going to have paint boogers because you're going to have fresh paint every day. And if you do open up sort of a crusted over paint blob, get rid of it, get the fresh paint out with your palette knife, put it somewhere, and then get rid of the old paint, right? If you have these blobs of dried up paint all over your palette, you will have paint boogers. And paint boogers sort of tell your audience you don't care. you're not a professional. So watch for things like that. Every painting should have the sides painted. You can paint them one solid color or just continue the painting around it. Should be varnished and should be signed. So I think it's even extra great to put the hardware on the back and the wire so that it's ready to hang. So that is good professional craftsmanship. And if you get into the habit of doing that on all your paintings, they are ready to sell. Another trick is you want to imagine your painting sold. What I just said about painting the edges, signing it, varnishing it, and putting the wire, you're ready to sell. You're basically prophesying or saying to this painting, you are sold. Whenever I'm working on a piece, I imagine who's going to own this? What do they look like? What does their house look like? And I see it sold. I see it, moving out of my studio into a cardboard box and being sent somewhere for somebody to have and enjoy. And you want all your artwork ready to sell by painting the sides, having it signed, varnished, and hardware on the back. So it's really important. It'll shift everything just by that mindset of you imagining and sort of willing this painting sold, versus it's unfinished, it's not signed, it's in the corner of a room. You're basically dooming that painting to not be sold. So it's really important trick. Your artwork should be user friendly, meaning it is ready to hang. This piece is not user friendly. If I saw this for sale, even if I loved it, I would be like, how am I going to get that home? Is it going to fall apart? Is my cat going to climb on that? There's all kinds of problems this has, and this artist needs to find a way to make this a little bit more user friendly, to be ready to hang and not make the buyer feel like, something could go wrong with it. If you want to sell more art, you want to think about the space that your art is going to go in. So when you're thinking about creating for a space, sometimes you're thinking about size. So the size of the piece, there's sizes that work well over a couch. There's sizes that work well over the fireplace. There's sizes that are a little smaller that work well in the entryway. Tall, skinny pieces work inside of art niches, that you've seen. Those are kind of build-ins that are sort of arched, and they're usually tall and skinny. Small pieces work well in kitchens. Square pieces, small squares work well in a series of three. So size and series, and color are all things that you can be thinking about. Also, is it contemporary? Is it traditional? Or is it transitional? So I'm going to show you some examples of that. And then also finally, price point. So here we have a room that is more traditional on the left, and then we have a room that's more contemporary on the right. And as you can see, the artwork that would belong in the space on the left is very different than the artwork that would belong in the space on the right. So if you are leaning towards contemporary, it's a good idea to get a visual of contemporary rooms, contemporary furnishings, contemporary colors, so that you can start to see how your art can kind of fit into that environment. Whereas if you're painting more towards the traditional side, then you might want to look at some rooms. What kind of colors are they decorating in? What do the furnishings look like? What do the lines look like? And that can begin to inform how your paintings look. Then there's something called transitional. So that's sort of a mix of the two, and that's what most people. Where most people fall. There's fewer people in the traditional side and fewer people in the more contemporary side. Most people kind of mix it up, and they have something that's modern but has a traditionalness to it. So we call that transitional. And so that's where artwork that is not just purely abstract, but something like this, where it sort of feels like a seascape, it feels like something, it feels like a landscape, but it's very contemporary, is going to work well in a space like that. So kitchen art is going to be small, multiples, food oriented, maybe vessels, kitchen related themes. Imagine a kitchen, and what would you like to see in your kitchen? Look at really fancy kitchens, look at the spaces, and where what will work there. Now, there's a big market in corporate art, and there's big budgets also that businesses have for art. They actually have budgets designated for art acquisitions. So corporate art tends to be large scale. It tends to be brand centric. So they have a brand, they have a vibe that they're putting out there, and they want the artwork to emulate that brand. You can get a feel for these spaces and what it is you're where you're trying to put this artwork by just looking at corporate art. Look at corporate settings. And so it could be a waiting room, it could be a lobby, it could be offices, it could be a big, hotel lobby. They have lots and lots of artwork, restaurants, and those are spaces a lot of people sort of miss and don't think about. And there's a lot less competition there too, because there's a lot of people that don't paint for those spaces. If you're thinking about a waiting room, it's going to be easy on the eyes and more contemplative. If you are thinking about a hallway, the artwork in the hallway is designed to keep you moving. So it's going to be a little bit more like minimal, I would say, and nothing that's going to grab you and as you're walking down the hall and make you stop and look at the artwork. It's sort of there as somewhat of an afterthought. And of course, nobody wants to think of their artwork as an afterthought, but there is artwork, in these corporate spaces, in these hallways, that they need there. Imagine this hallway didn't have that art in there. It'd be so boring. It wouldn't look elevated. So it might feel like it's not contributing a lot, but it really is. Your artwork is really contributing to the atmosphere. So art can fit into, there's different lines, shapes, moods. Different rooms have sort of a different vibe to them, and your artwork needs to complement that and fit in with that. So I can't stress enough how important it is to look at different environments, look at different rooms where you think your artwork would fit in, and you'll see that the artwork that you make after that is for specific rooms, will even be more sellable. And again, color is really, really important. So you can see with this complementary palette of the one on the left, they designed the room with a dominant color of blue and a splash of orange in that complementary palette. So this painting really, really fits well into that room. And then the other one on the right, they decorated in a lot of neutrals, and then a splash of sort of, reddish toned color in the room. Also, creating in series and multiples is another way to sell more artwork, because people could just buy one, they could buy two, they could buy three. And as you can see, buying multiples in a room is something that a lot of people like to decorate in. So that's another thing that'll help you be more prolific and give you lots of options for your buyers. And, you might be able to sell more than one painting at a time. So I want to kind of highlight a success story here of Dimitra. So Dimitra is our oldest daughter, and she, grew up all around, this art industry. And she started taking art classes when she was about 11 years old, 10, 11 years old. As she was learning everything from us, she started selling her artwork when she was about 12 years old. This is a painting that she's now 23, and this is a painting that she just sold, I think Tuesday, off of her website. But this is not how it began. So this is where she's come. She started, let's say, at age 11, and this is where she is today. And she's doing great. She represents herself and has her own art business. This is just sales for the last 90 days only on her website. Most of that is from selling prints, and that excludes the paintings that she sold in galleries, the paintings that she has sold, off of Instagram, paintings that she sold to just private collectors that have contacted her. So this only represents just one portion of her sales. But it didn't start that way. She wasn't just born being able to create these amazing paintings. She took classes, she worked at it. When her friends were going to parties and going and doing different social things, she made a choice oftentimes to stay home and paint because she had a gallery show that she was getting ready for when she was 15 years old. So those were sacrifices that she made. Um, and anything worthwhile, you're going to have to sacrifice. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to pour your heart into it. And she did that. And that's why she's become successful. So this is her when she's just getting started. And as you can see, her artwork, was developing. This is after she started to find her style a little bit, and but they're a little bit on the dark side, and the color is not, exactly right. She's sort of finding her way. She did start to sell her artwork a little bit, but not anything like how she's selling it today. As her style began to develop, she got into her first gallery shows, and then she got represented by a publisher who put her in all these different galleries. And I think at one time she was in about 12 different galleries. And this is the artwork that they were selling and she was creating. And she was about 15, 16 years old at this point. And she did that until she was 17, when she started to go out on her own. Her very first year with the publisher, when she was 15 years old, they sold over $1 million of artwork that year. So this works. The things that the professors say that artwork doesn't sell, nobody's buying artwork, nobody can make a living selling their art, is just not true. I know so many artists that are super successful, and we have so many students that have come through our programs that are enjoying a full-time career selling their art and making very good money. So after this, Dimitra decided that she wanted to help other artists because at 17, she decided to not work with the publisher anymore and go out on her own because she wanted to pioneer her own business and be in control of her brand completely and use social media to her advantage and really expand and grow her business on her terms. And I learned a ton through that because I had gone the more traditional route, working with galleries, working with dealers, working with art consultants in more traditional avenues of distribution. And Dimitra was, sort of pioneering this new artist way of working directly with the collectors and branding herself on social media and using email marketing, all kinds of things that over the last few years I learned. She wanted to help other artists and decided to help me teach the mastery program. And so we combined all of our knowledge of the knowledge that I've had since 1996 of selling my artwork and the knowledge that Dimitra has had of selling her artwork in the last 10 years. And we put that together and put it in our online mastery program. So the mastery program in 2019, we went online in 2018, and by 2019, we had reached over 400 students with it that were taking this program and finding their own success as they graduated from the program, selling their artwork. And now in 2023, we've really refined the content and we've just really gotten this incredible program together with the help of over 2,500 students. So a lot of artists have taken this program and they love it. They tell us that it's life-changing and they're enjoying their careers. So who is the mastery program for? Maybe it's for you. Maybe you who are watching right now, the mastery program is perfect for you. It's for people who are passionate about creating art. It's for artists who want to really make a full-time career selling their art. It's for artists that want to find their own voice. It's for artists that want to level up their skills, or even for artists that only have passion and absolutely no skill whatsoever, and can get into the mastery program and learn how to draw and paint And we've had people that are complete beginners that have never touched paint before, that by the end of it graduate and sell their work. In fact, Jake, who's is one of those people, who's Dimitra's husband, and he took the mastery program, had never touched paint before, never drew, never thought of himself as an artist, and he took the mastery program and completed it in less than 6 months. I think it was like 5 months. He did it full time, 40 hours, and completed it in 5 months. And at his graduation, he had sold like 3 paintings. And then after graduation, had sold a ton more. So he is a very good example of what I'm talking about. Who else is the mastery program good for? It's for somebody who really wants to build a personal brand, build a cohesive body of work, and get out there in the market and start selling their work. It's a really great program. We have a proven process. We've been working at this for many years, and like I said, it comes from our personal experience. This isn't just us teaching a program from an ivory tower and its theory, and we hope it works. This is our life experience poured into this program so that you can benefit from it and you can have success selling your art. So our proven method is that the first part is all about developing your skills and becoming proficient at oil painting and drawing. That is a foundation. And it doesn't matter if you already have some skill, you're already very skilled, or you have no skills at all. What we will teach you how to paint accurately, how to paint in an old master's technique, the foundations of the elements of art, and to get really, really, really good at drawing and oil painting so that you don't have any limitations whatsoever, and you're super confident. It's very important. Here is an example of a student who has gone through the program, of her before and after. And this is just in the beginning of the program. This isn't even all the way through the program, of her skills and how much they developed in a very short period of time. The second part of our proven method is finding your artistic voice. It is so important to find your voice as an artist, to be able to identify your personal aesthetic, be able to identify what are those themes that you want to paint in. What is it that you have to say? And how are you going to say it? What is your style? Developing your own unique style, so that you can be set apart from other artists and recognized for that style, and be able to sell your artwork by honing your style. So we teach you that, and we found that you finding your voice and being able to paint in your style consistently is a huge part of a successful career. Here is an example of one of our graduates, Rachel Doring, of her before the program and after the program, after she found her voice. She sells artwork all the time. She is an incredible artist. She lives in Australia, and she's just a really great artist, very successful. So another big part of this, I already talked about establishing your style. Because it's really, really important. It's your style is an expression of your voice. So first you find your voice, and then you figure out what kind of materials do you want to work with? What is your process that you're going to paint in? I have my own unique process that I like to paint in. Dimitra has her unique process that she likes to paint in. Jake has his process. My husband has his all of us have our own unique process, and you need to find your unique process that you like to paint in, that you can really, really express your voice, and that will become your style. So this is Rita, another student success story that I want to highlight. She really found her voice and paints in her style, and it's very recognizable. Anybody can recognize one of Rita's paintings just by looking at it, because it's so unique, and it's so consistent. And I think that's why she's so successful selling her art. Another part of our proven method is to build your brand, build your personal brand as an artist. So you will learn how to create a long-term career with an authentic, brand that is true to who you are. We teach you how to understand that you are your brand, not your artwork, and how to identify what is inside of you. What are you passionate about? What is so important to you, and how to translate that into a visual brand that you can put out there and add to your marketing strategy. So this is another graduate, Tanya Abu, and her artwork is an expression of who she is and what her brand is. So this is another example. Um, Another part of our proven method is to implement a marketing strategy. So in the mastery program, we teach you how to actually market and sell your artwork. When I went to art school, they did not teach us that. Not only did they not teach us that, they told us we wouldn't be able to sell our artwork. And so the last thing they were going to show us how to do is build a personal brand and to create a marketing strategy so that I could actually promote and sell my artwork. So we've changed that. And in the mastery program, we teach you all about marketing. We teach you all about how to create a marketing strategy that will work for you. We teach you how to use all these different platforms that will elevate your marketing. So you will learn how to build a website. You'll learn how to use social media to your advantage. You'll learn how to do email marketing. You'll learn all kinds of things. So then the next part is to promote your artwork. You've got to promote it. You have to get it out there. People have to see it in order to buy it, right? If it's just hidden away in your studio and nobody ever sees it, how in the world will you ever sell your artwork? So you have to get it out there. And we show you how to do that. How to get your artwork out there, how to get it seen, how to promote it, how to contact, follow up, who to contact, and you know how to let your artwork be seen, which is lifting your voice and letting your voice be heard so that your message can be out there. And that is so important to every artist. So another important attribute to the mastery program is to grow with a community that supports you. I know a lot of times when I was early on in my career, I didn't have a ton of support. I didn't have a ton of family support. They were sort of waiting on both sides of our family, John's side and my side. They were sort of waiting for us to fail so that we could go get a real job. And they kept kind of waiting, and year after year after year, I think it took probably 10 years before they stopped waiting. And I remember the day that John's grandpa, told him how proud he was of him, and he never thought he could make it as an artist. But after about 10 years into his career, and he already had, 2 kids that he was raising and supporting, then his grandpa was like, wow, you're doing it. You're really doing it. You're a successful artist. I was wrong. And that was like a great day for John to hear. But a lot of times we don't have a supportive community. We have people around us that are telling us we can't do it. When are you going to get serious? It's a pipe dream. Oh, you're being tricked. That's a scam. You hear it all the time, and it's just not true. And it's so important to get around other successful artists so that when your belief is low, when you don't necessarily believe in yourself, you see others are achieving, others are doing it, and we all lift each other up. We all encourage each other. It's so, so important to connect with that community of support. So you're not alone in this. If you join the mastery program, you will share this experience with other people that'll be going right along there with you. We have a mentoring program where you can get a personal mentor that helps you every step of the way. We also have a art social, which is our own social media that we've created and built from scratch that is for artists and art lovers. So this art social, as you can see, you can join all kinds of community groups. There's a mastery program forum that you can join, and you can see what all the students are doing and how they're posting, their assignments and what they're working on. And you'll meet people from all over the world. We have people, and probably even in this chat, that can attest to this, that have made friendships with people in different countries, and they know they're going to be lifelong friends. So this community of support is really, really important. And if you look at history, anytime there was a movement in art, anytime there was something big that was happening, it happened through a collective of people. It didn't just happen one person. The Impressionists was not just, Monet. The Impressionists was a collective of artists, and that movement, marked the earth forever because of this community of people. So being a part of a community is really, really huge. Um, so we help you in the mastery program build a portfolio of 25 pieces of a cohesive body of work that is in your style. Um, you learn a proven method on how to promote and sell your artwork, and so that this portfolio that you build can get out there and you can get consistent sales. Um, we also, before you build that portfolio, in order to build that portfolio, you have to find your voice. You have to know your voice. So we teach you step by step this really, really cool. I don't think there's anything like it in the entire world than the voice section of the mastery program, because we really, really methodically take you through all these prompts. It's like a journey of self-discovery. It's this incredible journey where you really know yourself on a deep, deep level of why you paint what it is you want to paint, how to identify what it is you want to paint, and connect that all back to your personal life experience so that you have a brand, so that you have some marketing collateral, you have something to say to somebody when they ask, what inspires you to paint this? You know exactly what to say and how to answer that. And those are the kinds of things that really sell artwork. Your story. Your story is so, so important. So we teach you how to identify that story, how to hone that story, and be able to communicate it effectively. And before you can find your voice, you really have to have a wide skill set so that you can paint paintings that are excellent, paintings of excellence, high craftsmanship. And that is what is going to sell your artwork consistently. So getting those skills, building those skills, drawing skills, painting skills, skills in acrylic. It's not just oil, but acrylic. And there's a whole mixed media section where you'll learn all about textures and collage and spray paint and inks and mark making and all kinds of cool things that are really contemporary techniques. So building those skills is really, really key. So how do you get access to the mastery program? Well, the mastery program it's a 1-year course, and registration right now is closed. It'll open in the beginning of the month. But what I suggest you do right now, if you're interested in this, if this is, getting your motor going and you're like, man, I've been looking for a program like this. This is exactly what I need to fulfill my dream of becoming a professional artist. I need to do this. What do you do right now? What I suggest you do, it's totally free, is get on the waiting list. So once you're on the waiting list, then you have access to a free prep course. So this is a course that you can go through in a very short period of time that will teach you all kinds of things. So you can start your learning now absolutely free. So joining the wait list is free, and getting the prep course is free. So where do you get the prep course? Well, you'll receive it right there on Art Social. It'll be on the right when you pull up the navigation. You'll see Mastery Program Prep Course, and then you click on it, and the whole course will be right there. So what will it teach you? It will teach you how to build your own easel. So I have found, in being a professional artist, having a nice big wall easel is a great way to be prolific, be able to stand far back from my work to see what it needs, and be able to work effectively. You can build one of these easels for like 30, 40 bucks. They're not that expensive to build, and anybody can build it. We've had people that are, in their 70s that have built these built these easels. Even I can do it. If I can do it, I'm not a carpenter. If I can do it, then you can do it. So we teach you step by step how to build your own easel. We teach you how to set up your studio like a pro so that you are ready to get into action and be able to produce some amazing artwork. We teach you all about the supplies that professionals use and how to fund your art program. So we even teach you how, if you don't feel like you have the money for this, how you can get the money, how you can fund your art education. Another thing that you'll learn in this prep course is what is your role in art history, and how to find your superpower as an artist. So there's all kinds of really cool, inspiring information. There's some right brain, left brain exercises in there to get your right brain motored up and working. It's a fantastic prep course, and you'll just learn a ton. So you want to make sure that you join the wait list. I think they'll put the link here, and you can get on the wait list and start learning today with that free prep course. And then you'll be the first to know and get a reminder about when registration opens, and you can join the mastery program. That's why I suggest you get on the wait list. Get on the wait list, you guys. If you're even thinking of taking this program, just get on the wait list. It is totally free. And you're going to receive so much valuable information from us that is really going to help you. And that prep course is fantastic. You are going to love it. And you can start learning today. You can start elevating where you're at today. You can begin, succeeding already today. So I think it's really incredible. I know since I was young, I wanted to be an artist, and I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to have that nagging, gnawing desire in your gut of something that you really, really want to be, and you feel this greatness in you. You feel this amazing draw towards your destiny in you, but the whole world around you tells you you can't. That's outlandish. That's romantic. That's a pipe dream. That's impossible. And it's not. It's not. Just hang with us. Just hang out with us. You will believe before you know it that it is possible. It's possible for you, and it doesn't require luck. It doesn't require knowing the right people or talent. That whole thing about talent is just garbage. It requires passion, and you have the passion. You have the desire, and that's what it takes. It takes hard work, commitment, passion, desire, and the mastery program to achieve your dream as a professional artist. So I really enjoyed talking with you guys and teaching from my heart, teaching something that I feel passionate about. And I believe in you. I believe in every single one of you, that no matter where you are in this journey, with hard work and passion, you can fulfill your dream of becoming a professional artist and sell your artwork all over the world. And with us, change the world for the better with your art. So I really enjoyed this, and thanks for coming, and I will see you at the next workshop.